Ohai. Macau or Island, the Special Administrative Region of People's Republic of China, the most densely populated region in the world, known for the casinos and the gambling industry, is 7 times more than Las Vegas. The population minus 653,100 people. For December 31, 2017. Official languages: Portuguese and Chinese. The Cantonese dialect is mainly used. Macau Special Administrative Region was formed on December 21, 1999 as a result of liquidation of the Portuguese colony of Macau and became one of 2 special administrative regions of the People's Republic of China. The second is Hong Kong. Before, within 442 years since 1557, Macau was operated by Portugal. It was the oldest European colony in East Asia. The Basic Law was approved by the National People's Congress in March 1993 and based on the principle, one country, two systems, that is on preservation of 2 various economic and legal systems within the uniform Chinese state. Being a part of the People's Republic of China, Macau possesses considerable autonomy in laws, legal, monetary, customs and immigration systems, and also right of participation in the international organizations. Macau is located on the coast of the South China Sea, in the delta of the Zhujiang River. Pearl includes the territory of the peninsula of Macau, the islands of Tape and Cologne, with a total area of 30.8 km. Through the passage borders on the megalopolis of Zhuhai. The peninsula of Macau is formed estuary the Zhujiang River. Pearl in the east and the Xi River in the west. The surface is mainly flat. It was created as a result of gradual inning of the earth by the sea. Numerous steep hills are the rest of a former relief. The peninsula was before the island, but in the 17th century was connected to the continent. Both other islands are connected to Macau, the road and 2 bridges. The most part of the territory is built up, agricultural grounds, pastures and the woods are absent, but green plantings occupy 22.4%. Maximum height above sea level 172.4 m. Macau is, on Alisev's classification, on border of subtropical and subequatorial zones, and on Köppen's classification, in a damp subtropical climatic zone. Average temperature in January is above 14 C here, and in July about 28 C. In a year over 2100 mm of rainfall drop out. The most ancient found traces of the South Chinese culture are dated 2 millennium BB on the island of Cologne -3 millennium BB. Sensei Dynasty Qin 221-206 BB. The territory of Macau was a part of her province of Guangdong. At least since the 5th century, the trade ships floating between Guangzhou and Southeast Asia used this area as the intermediate parking. In 1277, representatives of the Chinese Song dynasty and their followers who ran to the south from the Mongolian gain found a shelter in Macau. They formed the first resident population of the territory and managed to be fixed in it. At this time, the oldest temple Vanxia devoted to the Buddhist goddess of Guanyin was built. And the subsequent interest in Macau as to shopping center of the southern provinces was shown by Chinese of a hack. During an era of the Ming dynasty, 1368-1644. In Macau, fishermen from various districts of the provinces of Guangdong and Fujian moved. They built the temple Ama, from which there is a name Macau. Other Chinese name Aomen reminds of two towering hills, Nanti and Baiti. At the beginning of the 16th century of Macau remained the small settlement. In 1513 Portuguese for the first time landed in the mouth of the Zhujiang River, and in 1518 appeared in the neighborhood with Hojingo. It caused discontent of the Chinese authorities, and in 1521 Portuguese were turned out from coast of Guangdong. However, after the shipwreck which took place in 1536 in Hojingo, dealers from Portugal appeared. In 1553 Portuguese based the trading station in Macau. Attempts of Europeans to locate on other islands at the southern coast of China failed, but Macau prospered. Portuguese used them as base for conducting trade with Guangzhou and other regions of China, and also with Japan. After the ban of direct Chinese trade by the Ming dynasty with this country, Portuguese used Macau as the parking for swimmings in Nagasaki. The Portuguese and Chinese merchants lodged in Macau. Trade with India and Southeast Asia was developed. In 1557 Portugal achieved the consent of the authorities of China to granting this territory to it in exchange for payment of a tribute, and the strengthened settlement which became in the administrative relation a part of the Portuguese India was the same year built. Officially sovereignty over Macau still belonged to China. The Chinese inhabitants submitted to imperial laws, and Portugal since 1573 made rent payments for the territory. Since 1563, Jesuits conducted the activity in Macau. However, in the first years, progress of missionaries according to the address of Chinese to Christian belief was very limited, as instead of to learn Chinese and to get used to the Chinese culture, they wanted that Chinese learn it to speak and live in Portuguese. Though missionaries sometimes also visited Chinese continent outside Macau, namely the seaport of Guangzhou, where Portuguese from Macau were allowed to come to regular fairs. None of them managed to locate there for a little long term. Fundamental change in this situation is connected with a name of the head of Jesuits in the Far East, Alessandro Valignano, which, having arrived in Macau in 1578, indicated the need for Jesuits in China to follow an example of their colleagues working in Japan and India, that is, to begin with development of an oral and written language of the country where they want to work. At his request, the award of Jesuits sent to Macau talented priests of Michel Ruggieri, 1579, and Matteo Ricci, 1582, which seriously studied Chinese and could transfer the base in 1583 far inland in Zhejiang. From this modest undertaking, the Jesuit organization in China, for which Macau remained base more than 2 centuries, grew. Gradually Portuguese began to expand limits of the possession. In 1582 the first lease of the earth was signed with the neighboring Chinese county of Zhongshan, nowadays Zhongshan. In 1586 Macau acquired the rights of city self-government. Attacks of Dutches forced the Portuguese authorities to construct fortress, without asking permission of China. Only in 1670 the Chinese authorities recognized the city. In 1640, after separation of Portugal from Spain, the Portuguese royal dynasty appropriated to Macau an official title of the most loyal city of the God's sacred name, Cidade de Santa Namidamaga. In 1680 the first Portuguese governor was appointed. In 1685, China officially recognized Macau as port for foreign trade, but continued to insist on the supreme power, collecting a payment for the earth and the customs duties. In the 17th century, Portuguese actively drained marine territories. The former island of Macau, which connected to the continent only a narrow sandy isthmus, turned into the real peninsula. Stone buildings were built. The House of Mercy, which was founded in 1568 by the first missionaries, is reconstructed. The Cathedral of Sao Paulo and other buildings is built. In the 17th, 19th centuries of Macau still remained the most important center of the Portuguese trade with China, Japan, Philippines, Southeast Asia, Goa and Mexico. But after the crash of the Portuguese sea dominion in the middle of the 17th century, the city lost the trade hegemony. Further decrease in Macau value happened owing to occupation by Great Britain of Hong Kong and also opening of the Chinese ports for foreign trade after 1842. On April 20, 1844, Macau was brought out of submission to the authorities of the Portuguese India and turned Timor into submission of administration of the Portuguese colony. China continued to consider him as the territory and even signed in the city in 1844 the Treaty of Peace, Friendship and Trade with the USA. The Temple Vancia was used by the Chinese officials for supervision of foreigners. But in 1845 Portugal, having used weakening of China after defeat in the First Opium War, I announced Macau free port and I expelled the Chinese officials and soldiers. However, by this time the Macau value strongly fell in international trade, in connection with creation of Hong Kong. In 1849 the colonial authorities stopped payment of rent payments, liquidated the Chinese customs and proclaimed separation of the territory from China. China took the answer-back measures. The governor for Eridu Amar Al was killed. The same year Portugal occupied the Lake of Wanchai to the west from the peninsula of Macau, but in 1887 cleaned it. In 1851 and 1864 Portuguese attached to the possession of the island of Tape and Cologne. Kinsinski Contract. 1862 I recognized Macau the Portuguese colony, but China didn't ratify it. In 1887 both countries signed the Lisbon Protocol, in which continuous occupation and management by Portugal were confirmed by Macau, and the last undertook to alienate never Macau and dependent territories without coordination with China. Cape and Cologne also conceded to Portugal, but the border on the continent wasn't stipulated. The new Contract on Trade and Friendship. 1888. Recognized the Portuguese sovereignty over Macau, but China didn't ratify it again. In 1892 colony it was attached the island of Iglaya Verde. King II, who in 1923 was connected to the peninsula of Macau as a result of inning of the earth by the sea. In 1897 Macau received the status of separate colony of Portugal. In 1922 in Macau there were collisions of the Chinese population with the Portuguese authorities, which were followed by a strike of the Chinese workers and boycott of the Portuguese goods. In April 1928 the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China notified Portugal on cancellation of the agreement of 1887, but Lisbon didn't recognize this statement. After capture by the Japanese troops of Guangzhou in 1938 and Hong Kong in December 1941, Macau remained the last neutral port in the southern China. It became the reason of the short period of economic recovery of colony. In 1943, Japan established power control over the territory. Only after the end of World War II of Macau passed under jurisdiction of Portugal again. During the post-war period, colony the governor appointed from Lisbon still managed. The city of Macau was divided into two parts, European and Chinese, and in every one there was a certain administrator. Training at schools was also conducted separately for Europeans and Chinese. After declaration of the People's Republic of China, 1949. The government declared the Lisbon Protocol of 1887 invalid. It demanded to return the territory China and expressed readiness to resolve this issue in appropriate time during negotiations with Portugal. But Lisbon wasn't going to refuse the possession. In 1951, Macau was announced by the overseas province of Portugal. Since 1968 years, in Macau the day of formation of the People's Republic of China is regularly celebrated. In 2008 he also coincided with the International Day of Walking. In 1966 in Macau disorders broke out. The Association of the Chinese Pupils, which was under the influence of Cultural Revolution in the People's Republic of China, demanded to punish the chief of the Portuguese police, to stop repressions and to guarantee their non-repetition in the future. China spoke in favor for these requirements. Portuguese Governor José Nobre de Carvalho. Whale. Russian. 1966-1974. Prepared for evacuation, but crisis managed to be solved on the basis of a compromise. On December 12 the governor accepted the imposed requirements. The Portuguese authorities agreed to close the organizations of supporters of Taiwan and Association of the Help to Refugees from the continent. To force Macau to keep promises, the People's Republic of China in January 1967 cut giving of drinking water by half. That struck a hard blow to economy of colony. The Chinese residents of Macau declared boycott to Portuguese. They ceased to be let in transport, shops and restaurants. Chinese stopped paying taxes to provide services to Portuguese and to sell them goods. On January 29, 1967 the Portuguese governor was forced to apologize to Chinese. According to the signed agreement, Portugal returned 32 refugees to the People's Republic of China. The commander of the Portuguese garrison and the chief of police were recalled to Lisbon. After the victory in 1974 of democratic revolution in Portugal of Macau received wide administrative, economic and financial autonomy. In the spring 1976 the Legislative Assembly was founded. The majority of herdicts is chosen the population. The Portuguese governor heads work of Legislative Assembly. Since 1989 the City Parliament of Macau from 13 dicks works. 3 are appointed, the governor are chosen. Executive power in Macau is carried out by the government as a part of 7 departments. Ministries. In February 1979 Portugal and the People's Republic of China established diplomatic relations, and China recognized Macau as the Chinese territory under the Portuguese management. In 1980 the Portuguese governor Tuazedi. 1979-1981. Chok for the first time visited China. Both parties were full now of determination to find mutually satisfactory solution of the problem of Macau. On May 20, 1986, China and Portugal signed the joint communiqué with an appeal to negotiations. From June 1986 to March 1987, 4 rounds of negotiations took place, and on April 13, 1987 in Beijing the joint declaration on Macau was signed. It provided transformation in the special administrative region of the People's Republic of China since December 20, 1999 for a period of 50 years. In March 1993 the National People's Congress approved the Basic Law of Future Area. With the gradual expansion of self-government in 1989, municipal parliaments in Macau and on islands were created. The majority of their dicks was made by Chinese. In May 1991 the government of Macau Executive Council, consisting of 7 departments, got to work. Then the number of members of Legislative Assembly was increased up to 23. From them 8 were elected by direct vote. 9 deputies were Chinese. During elections to a meeting in 1996, the victory was won by the candidates representing the interests of a business community. They won 4 places. The representation of the pro-Chinese political groups was reduced from 4 to 3, and democratic groups, from 2 to 1 place. By agreement with China, the term of office of a meeting was prolonged till 2001. The authorities of the People's Republic of China approved as the chief executive of future special region of the billionaire Edmund Huo, one of heads of the largest bank Taifun. In anticipation of the Macau broadcast to China, measures were taken a little to contain growth of organized crime from which the territory strongly suffered in the 1990s. One of bosses of gangsters, Wang Guokui, was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. On the 20th of December, 1999, according to the agreement of 1987, Macau was transferred to the People's Republic of China. Control of Macau is exercised of Executive Council headed by the head of Executive Power, Hu Yat-senji. Since December 20, 2019. The head is elected for a period of 5 years by electoral committee from 300 dicks, which is formed of dicks of regional groups, the municipal organizations and bodies of the central government of the People's Republic of China. After election, he is approved by the government of the People's Republic of China. The government of Macau Executive Council consists of the Secretary, 4 members of the Legislative Council, 4 representatives of a business community and 1 trade union representative who are guided by the People's Republic of China. Legislature, the unicameral Legislative Council. A Legislative Assembly, which term of office 4 years. It consists of 27 dicks. 10 are elected general by direct vote, permanent residents aged 18 years. Living in Macau not less than 7 years. Or more senior, 10 are chosen vote on functional groups. On the industries and activities, the industries, trade, agriculture, transport, insurance, etc. And 7 are appointed the chief executive. Since September 2005, the number of members of the Legislative Council has increased to 29. The competence of legislature includes adoption of laws, taxes, the budget and decisions on social and economic problems. The laws adopted by the Legislative Council are reported to Standing Committee of the National Congress of the People's Republic of China, which has the right to consider that this or that law violates the provisions of the Basic Law concerning a relationship between the central power and Macau. In this case, the law is declared invalid. The legal system is based on the Portuguese right. Besides judges of the lowest instance, the Court of Appeal works. Judges are appointed the chief executive. Officially in Macau there are no political parties, however various political associations and groups work. The Association of Assistance of Economy of Macau, the Union of Assistance to Progress, Convergence for Development, the Union for Development, the General Union of Development of Macau, represent the interests of the business community and political forces connected with the People's Republic of China. The Association of New Democratic Macau, the Union for Democratic Development, unite democratic circles. Ministries: Ministry of Economics and Finance, Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Social Problems and Culture, Ministry of Questions of Administration and Justice, Ministry of Transport and Public Works. The population of Macau professes Catholicism, Taoism, the Buddhism. In Macau, the residence of the Catholic bishop, official representation of the Award of Jesuits, other Catholic awards, Catholic colleges and monasteries are located. Population density in Macau, one of the highest in the world, about 20,000 people on 1 km. The administrative center, the city of Auman, Macau, with the population 223,000 people. Ipa is connected by bridges to the peninsula, and the passage between the islands of Taipa and Cologne was drained that promotes integration of islands with the overpopulated city of Macau. New territory between Taipa and Cologne of 5.2 km. I received the name Cote and it is built up with new casinos. On a census of 2011, most of the population of Macau, local natives of 92.4%, Chinese, are immigrants from the neighboring province of Guangdong, and their native language is Cantonese, but there is also a quantity of immigrants from Philippines and other countries of Southeast Asia and also migrants from more remote regions of China. The Portuguese both is official, and appears in the majority of texts of the state origin on an equal basis with Chinese. It is a little known to most of the population, and in practice is used very restrictedly. For example, in law, 2.6% Filipinos, 1.3% Vietnamese, 1.1% Indonesians, 0.7% children from mixed marriages of Chinese and Portuguese, 0.6% Portuguese, 0.3% children from mixed marriages of Chinese and other people, 0.1% children from mixed marriages of Portuguese and other people. In Macau, very low levels of birth rate tilde 8.8 promil, mortality tilde 3.4 promil, natural increase tilde 5.4 promil, and infantile mortality 1.2 promil. 2019. The lowest fertility level in the world, -0.932 births on the woman, and birth rate of resident population -1.510 births on the woman. At the same time, the second place in the world, after Monaco. On average life expectancy -81. 4 years are at men and 87.5 years at women. Literacy -95% of men, 88% of women. On a census of 2001. Economy. Macau Open Port, large financial center, is known for the casinos, gambling houses, a hippodrome, nightclubs. Today Macau actually is the world capital of passion. Since 2010 the gaming brings to the budget of Macau to more than 70% of income. Tourism makes 2/5 all DDD of the area. High-speed hydrofoils transport tourists from Hong Kong to Macau, where they are waited by bars, restaurants, casino, hotels. Natural resources are presented to Macau only by fish resources. In the mouth of the Chuxian River the fishing providing all needs of the city is conducted. Agriculture is minimized. The main agricultures, rice and vegetables, livestock production, it is developed poorly. The main supplier of food, continental China. Macau makes and exports textiles. The enterprises of the textile industry bring up to 3/4 currency receipts. Also main production is fishery and the tobacco industry. The population works in the industry. 46% busy. And services sector. 40%. About 70% of the busy population indirectly or directly connected with gaming. The People's Republic of China does transit business through Macau, controls a number of the enterprises, trading companies and banks. China together with Hong Kong, the main trade partner of Macau. The important place in foreign trade of Macau is taken by Japan. Unemployment in Macau rather low. In 1998 I made 3.8% of the efficient population. In 2010 unemployment rate reached the minimum level in 2.8% since 1994. Since 2005 the quantity occupied constantly grows in services sector according to the World Bank. If in 2005 this figure made 74.7%, then to 2010 she exceeded 84%. Since 1995 Macau, the member of the World Trade Organization. The tax Macau system is based on progressive rates, to the fixed rate additional assignments on social needs or the differentiated rates usually increase. For example, income tax of natural persons makes from 7 to 12%, individually employed citizens pay about 5%. Income tax of corporations fluctuates from 9 to 12%. Besides the main income taxes, natural and legal entities pay property taxes, which interest rate is from 10.8% to 16.8%. The highest rates are imposed on gambling houses. The role of Macau as financial center grows. The National Overseas Bank and Bank of China have right of emission. There are also 20 other banks possessing the license, 16 of which foreign. In Macau 5 of 500 leading commercial banks of Asia are located, including Taifin and Sangheng banks. Transport. By Macau it is connected to located on the opposite coast and estuary of the Zhujiang River Hong Kong and with Guangzhou lines of hydrofoils. Also there is a helicopter line between Macau and Hong Kong. The Macau airport serves flights from many cities of China. On October 23, 2018 the bridge Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau, which connected the largest cities of the delta of the Pearl River, was open. Length of the bridge is 55 kilometers, from which 6.7 kilometers, an underwater tunnel between two artificial islands. In Macau there are bus routes. The movement of most of passengers between Macau and the rest of China is carried out by pedestrian pass through Gongbei checkpoint to the neighboring city of Zhuhai, province of Guangdong, on which north Chakahayski side the bus station of the same name with the bus movement to Guangzhou and other cities of the province is located. Culture. The center of Old Macau, Senado Square, is known to a pavement from a wavy mosaic. The picturesque center Macau of an era of the Portuguese dominion reflects collision of the European and Chinese cultures and values. 8 areas and 28 separate objects. Ruins of the destroyed Catholic Cathedral 1582-1602, several Portuguese forts, the oldest beacon in China, etc. In 2005 were entered by UNESCO in the World Heritage List. Macau has the right to independently support economic and cultural ties with other states, regions and the international organizations, and also to conclude with them agreements. Religion. In the confessional relation of 50% of inhabitants profess the Buddhism, 15% Catholics. 35% adhere to other faiths and non-believers. Media. The public and private broadcasting company. Teledifuso de Macau, telecasting of Macau. Includes Portuguese language TV channel Canal Macau, Chinese language TV channel Tietim Mumun, satellite TV channels Tietim Desporto, Tietim Informaco, Tietim D, satellite TV channel Tietim Macau satellite, Portuguese language radio station Radio Macau and the Chinese language radio station of the same name. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.